Crikey, what a disaster. Complicated and expensive. You know, connectivity can be a tangled mess. But with ngena, it doesn't have to be. A secure, configurable network as a service right at your fingertips. All you have to do is select, enhance, and deploy. That's all you need. This is ngena. Join the one-touch connectivity world. It's that easy.
Good morning, good afternoon. This is a global presentation. I'd like to welcome everybody. My name's Paul German. I'm the Chief Executive Officer at Certes Networks. I'm joined today by Dr. Marcus Hacker from ngena. And what we'd like to talk about today is a collaboration between our two organizations, where we will be delivering the market's first high assurance SD-WAN offering. The webinar today will last around about 30 minutes of presentation. And then what we'd like to do is invite people to join a live Q&A. So where Marcus and I will be ready, willing, and able to answer any questions that you may have around this collaboration, and look forward to joining you at the end of the webinar. Thank you. Okay, so Marcus, if you could introduce yourself, please.
Thank you, Paul. I'm very happy to be with you on that webinar. So I'm Marcus Hacker. I'm founder and CTO of ngena, and I'm looking forward to present the High Assurance SD-WAN to all of you today. Currently, there's a lot of transformation ongoing in many of the industries, as a lot of the business and enterprise customers are changing their business models towards the digitalized world and moving their infrastructures towards the cloud. And this has a tremendous impact and needs a tremendous change on the network side as well. If you look at the classical network architecture, it has connected all the different sites of a corporation, the offices, the sales offices, branch offices, as well as the main offices, but also production sites and sometimes also partners. And if you would need to reach out to the internet, this is typically done via central breakout of one of the data centers. Now, with having this kind of architectures and using the private, most likely MPLS-based network, they will not support anymore this new requirement, as applications has moved towards the clouds. The public clouds could be the infrastructure as a service environments of the Microsoft Azures or Amazon Web Services or the Google Cloud platforms, but also, of course, all the SaaS applications like Salesforce and many others. Now, this requires also to, of course, embrace the public internet to connect to these public clouds, but additionally, also the corporate environment is not so static anymore, because many people are working from on the move or they are working from home. And we have seen with the COVID epidemic how important this capability to work from everywhere with every device it is to simply ensure to continue the business. And with all that requirements and all that changes on the business side, of course, there is a huge requirements always also towards the new security architecture, because it is not anymore good enough to simply protect the corporate sites with a perimeter security and just reduce the attack interface at the corporate sites, because now the attack interface seems to be everywhere as the people are moving, as they work from everywhere. So you also need to think about completely new security concepts. And I think this is, and Paul, it would be great if you would talk about this one, why the combination of the ngena SD-WAN platform, connectivity platform, together with the Certes high assurance capabilities is just a big step forward for our customers.
Thanks, Marcus. And that's a great question. Why the combination of the ngena connectivity as a Certes? Sorry, 3, 2, 1. And thanks, Marcus. That was a great question. Why the combination of the ngena connectivity as a service platform with the Certes High Assurance solution? What are the benefits of bringing the two solutions together? Well, in today's markets, environments, we see that there's an increasing need to provide real and specific protections around individual data classes or classifications within what we call the high assurance markets. And those high assurance markets are verticals where they have particular requirements to adhere to either external pressures from regulatory compliance bodies or internal audit pressures from internal organizations that specifically drive the need to show certain protections around specific sensitive data within the organization, how that data is handled, how that data is protected, and obviously how those protections are then represented in terms of real-time output, audit, compliance, those sorts of things. By combining the offerings, Certes and ngena can deliver a unique offering that allows customers to take advantage of the obvious benefits of the connectivity platform as a service from ngena, but combined with a high assurance offering that allows them to protect their data across any of the infrastructure elements that they have within their environment. And it's done in such a way where it's non-impacting to performance, to scalability, or to the visibility elements that are required as part of the offerings that we have in our environments today. So what that really means is that our customers, our joint customers, can move forward in their transformational aspirations to move to that flexible, agile SD-WAN platform, but whilst retaining control of all of the aspects of their data assurance requirements that are either driven by that regulatory compliance need from external bodies or from that internal compliance need that they have from information assurance or data assurance organizations within their own businesses.
Paul, that is exactly what it's all about, right? And if you especially look into what the ngena as a service platform can deliver to customers, I think it is all about simplification, because the old network platforms with this increasing needs for further services, could it be best path selection? Could it be application optimization? Of course, also the transport security itself, with all the different sites and all the different use cases you need to consider, with all the people moving around, with a connection to the partners, with connecting all your own sites, working from home and so on. It is a huge complexity, and simplification is very, very much needed to really ensure a proper operation of the network. You only achieve this if you at the same time also have a high degree of automation, so that the deployment is done in a very flexible but also speedy way. Now, all this has a lot to do with modernization of the whole infrastructure, the hardware, the software, and so on. And all that is put together in a single consistent platform approach which ngena has developed to really offer to all our partners a connectivity as a service value proposition. This means you simply select services on a global service catalog, and via the fully automated workflows, the whole infrastructure, including all the different components, also from a commercial perspective, like the consideration of the licensees, are handled in that automated workflows. To do this, we are using leading edge technology from Cisco. We support the Cisco Viptela as well as the Meraki as a base technologies for the SD-WAN, but we have added a large number of further components to it, which are very different virtual network functions, which we are running on our global platform, which especially ensures the optimized performance of application on that platform, as well as cause as a lot of security elements to really make the network itself a very secure network. And that is what the ngena can contribute to this joint value proposition. And I think Certes now is adding the specific high assurance part to it, Paul.
Absolutely, Marcus. And you know, when you and I first started exploring the potential of a relationship between our two businesses, I think I was certainly very excited by the fact that actually, when you look at the way that customers want to buy today, then there are obvious benefits from the as a service model that ngena is utilizing today. And Certes very much plugs into that in a very robust and simple way. Being software defined ourselves, we fit into the desired architecture that ngena is utilizing to add that simplicity for both its partners and its customers. But obviously, what Certes is bringing to the table is the ability to decouple that ownership of the data security posture, and whilst customers are consuming the service as a service, they're also retaining control of the two very important things associated with the protection of their sensitive data. That being the policies that are used to create and define the protections of how data traversing the network is to be protected, and secondly, the encryption keys that are used to protect each one of those data classes. So at all times they're retaining that ownership and control, but whilst consuming both the SD-WAN offering and the high assurance offering as a service. So we're really very much introducing that, Marcus, I know you and I have spoken about this many times, that zero trust, zero impact element to the delivery. So really delivering on that simplicity point for our partners and customers, the granularity that they need for the specific controls around different types of sensitive data in their environments, with a high assurance solution that's got many certifications and checkboxes, shall we say, that allow us both to go and tackle not every single customer requirement in the market, because again, this is high assurance SD-WAN. We're specifically going over after those markets where specific protections of sensitive data are a requirement, and where specific controls need to be implemented and demonstrated to both either internal or external audit bodies. So really, what we're delivering on is that end-to-end solution for high assurance customers in their transformation to an SD-WAN offering.
There are just 3 simple steps to really provision this connectivity as a service value proposition to the customers. In the first step, it is all about selection of the services. We have predefined services which can be selected from a global service catalog, which has predefined services to connect small sites like home offices or retail branch offices, but also more complex services to connect the production sites or main office sites, as well as the data centers. All is a simple click in a portal, as it is all described in predefined service packages on our QuickSizer, which is exactly the tool which enables a very simple selection and design of a whole global network. At a second step, You simply add the technical details to the selected services, which allows you to ensure that the network itself is behaving in a way which is intended by your IT organization. It is all running on leading edge Cisco technology like Viptela and Meraki. And you have a broad range of configuration options to really tweak the network to the very specific requirements of your corporation. It allows you to have global connectivity. If I talk about global connectivity, it is not just the service overlay, the way how the traffic is moving from one customer location via our global platform to another customer location. It also includes the transport underlay. So it's a really managed end-to-end solution covering overlay and transport underlay. We achieve this via a huge set of partners which we have on a global scale to really all the needed deliveries in all the different regions around the world. The underlay we are offering includes private networks like MPLS or Ethernet, but of course also fully embraces all kinds of public internet. It could be broadband, the business internet or direct internet access, but as well as the mobile, the 4G, 5G networks, and of course also including the satellites, so that you can reach out to very remote locations as well. And it's all deployed with a click on our portal again, because as I already mentioned before, they are fully automated end-to-end workflows. This means this automated configuration is deployed on a global scale via what we call a multi-layer service orchestration, which is translating the service intent into the configurations of all the needed elements on the global platform and on the on-site routers, the devices running at the customer site, without any manual intervention. With that, we can ensure a very high-speed deployment within minutes to every location around the world. And of course, we ensure a very, very high quality because of this automated processes, as there are no any more manual processes being involved, which we all know are very much error prone. With that approach and the simple 3 steps, select, enhance, and deploy, we are capable to exactly deliver this SD-WAN services on a connectivity as a service platform within a very short period of time and with the highest quality, and to be very, very cost efficient as well. And now, Paul, the Certes gets on top of it.
Okay, Marcus, thanks very much. So now it's clear to see why we here at Certes are really very excited to partner with ngena, because the core message that I take from ngena is really providing the ability to massively accelerate the transformation that our customers are going through in their move from a non-agile world to one that's extremely agile, and with what ngena delivers, that greatly increases the speed at which our customers can make that move. Now, one of the challenges for those high assurance customers that we're talking about, when that speed of agility is increased like that, is how do they keep specific control of the data, the sensitive data within their environments. And that's where Certes adds specific benefits, because we're decoupling that data security away from the underlying infrastructure, so the infrastructure can do the adds, moves, changes, be as agile as it needs to be to meet the requirements of the business. But with a high assurance overlay from Certes, that allows them to at all times retain control of their data assurances necessary to meet their regulatory compliance needs. So taking a look at this slide, it really just goes through what our simple 5 pillars of delivery are. So we're working with the customer, we help them understand what is their business intent when it comes to information or data assurance. So typically that's just understanding how does data need to be protected within the environment that the customer is operating. So moving on to the next pillar, what we enable them to do is to turn that business intent into actionable intent-based policy. So that's providing them a mechanism to turn that business intent into enforceable policy that's enacted within the environment over which the data is traveling. So then we move on, understanding that customers today don't have just one type of data they have to protect. Typically, there's many types of sensitive data. So here at Certes, we enabled them to do that in a different way for each classification of data. The market calls that micro segmentation. Here at Certes, we define that as crypto segmentation because we're creating cryptographic segments for each individual type of data. So in short, what that means is each classification of sensitive data is protected using its own policy and therefore its own set of encryption keys. And therefore all data is handled differently and according to the needs that it has as a data classification. And then moving on from there, we have an output, which is a number of features and functions, excuse me, that allow us to then put the customer in the position where at all times they can observe in real time how their data is being handled or how it's being protected, so that when it comes to audit and compliance, when auditors are on site, they can demonstrate that at all times data was protected according to the policy that the customer's defined, using keys that only the customer has access to. And here at Certes, we call that provable security. So the output is provable security. So if we could move on the next slide, on the next bit, please. So the business outcome being provable security, with the input being business intent. So the benefits for the customer, it's very simple to show business intent as an input, moving to provable security as an output, which is what we need to show. But then when we look at the technology behind how Certes is delivered, we're very transparent to the underlying infrastructure. So we focus on maintaining the visibility aspects that are required to manage and maintain our infrastructure components. So we're very lightweight when it comes to impacts to the infrastructure. So from an SD-WAN perspective, from a visibility, from an analytics perspective, the network looks and behaves the same after Certes is deployed as it did before. And then when we look at the next element, it's not just about visibility, but then scalability. Typically, when you're protecting data to the order of magnitude that Certes does, it sometimes can impact, with other solutions, can impact scalability, which, when we're working in a world where speed of transformation is accelerated, scalability needs to be robust. So we can be sure that with the Certes solution, that scalability aspect isn't impacted. So many of our customers are high throughput, low latency customers, where specific requirements around scalability are a must, and we deliver those on those as a key principle here at Certes. So we mentioned earlier on in the presentation that actually High Assurance SD-WAN, it's not a fit for all customers. It's a fit for specific target verticals where sensitive data and the protection of sensitive data is of utmost importance. So those sorts of verticals where Certes typically operates and operates very well is the public sector. So we have a number of customers globally that are governments or public sector entities, utilities organizations, critical national infrastructure. Obviously, with the cyber threats that those verticals now face, it's of key importance that control data is protected at all times. We provide the obvious benefits to those, and then we've got finance, healthcare. Obviously, we're all more than acutely aware of the pharmaceuticals, the sensitivity of data around what pharmaceuticals are delivering today. So enabling these verticals to have an accelerated transformation strategy around their move to agile technologies like SD-WAN, combined with a high assurance overlay that allows them to own and control and protect their data at all times, is an obvious win-win for these target verticals. So, combining ngena with Certes is a clear and obvious benefit for customers that you have that reside in these verticals.
Yeah, Paul, I think it is very interesting to see that the ngena and Certes have a lot of elements in common, right? It's all about simplification, simplifying the way how you select and deploy services. It's about the flexibility to really adjust the services to the very specific needs of our customers. At the same time, it's about visibility to really allow the customers to see what's going on in the network, what's going on in the security and in the high data assurance elements. Last but not least, as both of us are believing in a platform approach, it's about scalability so that our partners really can rely on that it is suited for all different customer sizes and can support even larger deployments. And last but not least, security is a key element of everything what we are doing. It's a network security, it's a high data assurance pieces which are added here to really ensure that our customers on the safe side in working with their business processes, connecting their customers, and really driving their business. All that is possible because we have this global platform which provides this connectivity as a service value proposition based on agile SD-WAN, global service catalog and service delivery. It is the maximum flexibility which you get via this catalog approach, which also simplifies the selection and the deployment via the end-to-end automation. It gives the customer the full control and ownership of everything what is related with data assurance, which is all of it policy driven on the network as well as on the data assurance side. And last but not least, I think a key element of all of that is that the customers, of course, are owning the keys to really ensure that they are only ones which control the security of their data. With all of that, we are not just securing a leading edge network capability, but we are also in the combined offering are meeting all the requirements which are imposed by regulations and other compliance requirements in all the industries you just talked about, right, in the public environment or right in the healthcare or other industries. Now, with all of that, I think it's a huge opportunity, Paul, for our partners to really offer a unique service to their customers. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I think that certainly, Marcus, from the combined offering perspective, it allows our partners to go out and really change the playing field when it comes to the discussions they're having with their customers. You know, we're not talking about just an SD-WAN offering. We're not just talking about a high assurance offering. What we're talking about is a combined offering that allows customers to rapidly adopt the SD-WAN solution with the obvious benefits that it provides, but without compromising their data assurances or their approach to data or information assurance within their environment. So no, very much, we are looking forward to engaging with the partners and to helping them better understand a little bit more about the combined offering here. And I think you would agree, both of our sales organizations are ready, willing and able to engage with the partners that are present on this call, and to work alongside the sales organizations to help them go in and really pitch something to their customers where there's obvious and clear benefits, but with true differentiation in the market, so that we can make our joint partners more competitive as they go out and win net new business within their markets. So Marcus, I'm sure you'll join me in thanking everybody for joining us on the presentation part of this webinar today. I think it's really very exciting for us both. And what we'd like to do is now invite everybody to join Marcus and myself on a live Q&A, so that we can answer any questions that you may have thought of during the presentation part of this webinar. So again, thank you very much.
Joined here by Marcus and Paul. Thank you both. That was a great presentation, a great look at the joint offering from ngena and Certes. So we are opening up the Q&A to the chat. So attendees, you have a chat function. Please feel free to submit some questions and we'll answer them. And we have some pre-submitted questions here as well that we can use to kick things off. So Marcus, as we closed out the presentation, we ended on a slide going through some of the unique elements of this offering. ngena offers a pretty holistic SD-WAN as a service platform. There's a lot of different technology layers that can be stacked on top of that. What about this interaction and this connection with Certes do you see as being especially unique and promising for our customers and partners?
Yeah, Eric, thanks for that question. So, you already mentioned the ngena platform is a truly connectivity as a service platform with all the capabilities we have talked in the presentation about. I do not want to repeat all of that, right? But it's about flexibility and really helping the customers on their journey towards a digitized world, right? That is all about. It's about the flexibility, all that capabilities. Now, but it is not just that. Our platform is also SASE compliant. SASE, which is a terminology for the secure access, secure edge architecture. This means it combines all the benefits of the SD-WAN as a service approach together with all the network security. Network security typically is concentrating on the topic of threat detection and vulnerability management, right? So what now really Certes is adding to that one is the topic of the provable security. So the platform itself, the ngena platform itself, it's at the highest security level, and we prevent a lot of the attacks, and we have the capabilities, what is called in that industry, advanced security, with all that features, URL filtering, next generation firewall, intrusion prevention. We also include the cloud-based security with web gateways and things like that. All that is available. But what Certes really is adding is provable security. But I think, Paul, you're in a much better position to talk about that piece, because it gives the customer, the user, really the capability also to clearly differentiate the responsibility from the IT networking part and the security, which by many organizations, or for many organizations, this is required by regulation and also from an auditing point of view. But Paul, I think it's up to you to have a little bit deeper look into that piece.
Yeah, I think you've really touched on on the key point there. It's around accountability and responsibility. So when it comes to highly regulated environments, one of the things that we find now is that within these typical customers, we have roles that are particularly accountable for data protection and data security. Typically, data protection officers or chief protection officers. So these roles are typically reporting directly in at CEO and board level because of the inherent need to understand at all time where a particular organization's data security posture actually resides. So having that focus is key for our customers. However, many of our customers also want to, as part of their digital transformation, adopt services in the model under which we've already discussed, this as a service model. Now, what that does is obviously enables them to have this highly agile environment, but when you start looking at tying together security and infrastructure, what that does is actually pushes some of the ownership away from the owner of the sensitive data and out to their services providers. And obviously, with the increased regulation that we're starting to see, not just the breadth of regulation, but the depth of regulation as well, that ownership is absolutely critical. So with the Certes solution combined with the ngena offer, what we're enabling customers to do is actually move forward at a pace with their digital transformation strategies.
That's great. Thank you both. Paul, to expand on that, so, as we talk about as a service, as we talk about digital transformation, a lot of times the conversation is centering on automation and, things of that nature. In this world of high assurance, one of the things that I find interesting about this joint solution is this capability for customers to maintain control. So I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about encryption keys and the ability to control data while still leveraging the power of automation in these as-a-service platforms.
I think, Eric, we may have lost Paul for a few seconds because of networking issues. Most likely, we are not running on our own platform here.
Right.
So I think we may move to the next question because...
Let me move it to a different question then, Marcus.
Yeah, as much as I would like to answer that one, I think Paul is in a better position to do this one.
Exactly. And so for you, Marcus, here's a question. There's been a recent survey by industry analyst Telegeography, and they found that SD-WAN, of the total global WAN market, SD-WAN is still just a little bit over 2%. So this incredible explosion that we've seen over the last few years with SD-WAN coming from all different vendors across the industry, in terms of real world deployments, it's still a very small fraction of the status quo. So as you look at that landscape for someone who's leading a SD-WAN as a service operation, what do you see in the horizon? How do you see joint opportunities like what we're doing with Certes really making deployments move from the theoretical to a reality for customers?
Yeah, I think, Eric, the first thing what we should consider is the huge market volume overall, right? Because we are talking about 75 billion and more of the WAN market. I think it's an enormous volume, right? So even this is a few percent you were talking about, in absolute terms, already provide a quite significant revenue potential. I think that is one piece to it. I think there is, if you look into how intensive the discussion on SD-WAN and modernizing the network architectures are moving towards the cloud on-ramps and all that topics, I think a lot of customers have started exploring it. Because at the same point in time, you see that more than 30-40% of business customers, meaning enterprise customers, mid-sized customers, already have planned to move towards SD-WAN. Many of them already have started deploying first parts of it, right? So I think there's on one hand, just, I would say, the rather small numbers which has been communicated by the market analyst if you compare it to the overall market volume. On the other hand, we know that so many customers are started to move towards that new architectures and the SD-WAN. So this gives us a quite good understanding that we are really, from the rollout perspective, from the real business volume perspective, at the very steep increase of the curve increasing towards more or less taking over this business volume from the legacy towards the modernized SD-WAN networks. So there are two ways of looking at it. Yes, the current numbers compared to the overall volume are still quite small, but the transformation has started. And I think the upcoming 2-3 years will see a tremendous shift towards these new business opportunities from that point of view, or new architectures from the technology point of view. And security is one of the key drivers for that one, because all this distributed service consumption, which we see with the public clouds, with people working from home and so on, requires a very, very, I would say, intensive analysis of how the security needs to be implemented. And the connectivity platform like ngena is providing is giving a lot of help to do this with the security services. But as we already have discussed, there are specific industries like public segment, like pharmaceutical industries, financial, which requires this proven security. And they need to add something to exactly achieve that. And I think, Paul, that is exactly what they get with the Certes, and also with looking into the market development on that side. I think there will be much more business in that area in the upcoming years.
Yeah, absolutely, and apologies for the brief interruption previously, but I think you're absolutely right, Marcus. In terms of the growth rates that we're predicting for SD-WAN, a lot of those customers are going to have data assurance requirements that today are challenging for them to meet. And I think that what you and I discussed when we first started to embark on this relationship was around ngena being able to demonstrate a clear recognition of high assurance customers' requirements around how can they own and be responsible for the data security posture at all times. And by bringing our solutions together, we're enabling them to have that ownership, but consume the joint offer as a service, and therefore enabling them to move forward in their digital transformation strategy. And I think by combining the offerings, that 30 to 40% that you were talking about, not only can we make their digital transformation journeys that much shorter and that much quicker, but we can also attract a wider range of customers by having that data first approach in being able to very quickly mitigate any concerns that they have or that they may have around moving to away from legacy technology and onto these new ways of doing things.
Paul, that leads into a question I had here for you right before the blip there. That as we talk about this joint solution, as we talk about it as a service platform, things like automation, are a huge driver for digital transformation across the board. When that kind of dovetails into the world of encryption and things like that, what's that balancing act like in terms of maintaining control while also harnessing those benefits of automation? So when it comes to encryption, I know there's some interesting things that Certes does in terms of encryption keys and things like that.
Yeah. Okay. Great question. So Certes is a company we've been around for over 18 years. And always addressing those high assurance customers. So we've always been addressing what the industry commonly terms separation of duties, which is the decoupling of the security functions away from infrastructure functions. So our technology has been built from the ground up to deliver that separation of duties for our customers. For us, coupling our infrastructure alongside an as-a-service offering from ngena allows our customers to maintain that that strict separation of duties posture that they're looking for, but also take real advantage of those automation techniques that you're talking about that come from that platform approach that ngena's delivering. So in short, they can take full advantage of those automation capabilities from the ngena as a service platform, but whilst maintaining strict control around an ownership of policy and the keys associated with protecting their data when consuming that service.
That's great. It's truly a best of both worlds scenario. Absolutely. As those come together. We have a question in the chat here saying, when you speak of customers, do you mean end user customers or partners? The ngena go-to-market model traditionally is via channel partners. Does the Certes model change this in any way?
So I'm happy to take that one. No, it doesn't change at all from the ngena point of view, right? So if we talk about customers, it's indeed a dual way how we think about it, right? Our customers from a ngena perspective are our partners because our value proposition is to enable partners to help them to serve their end customer, business customers in the best way. And this is absolutely the way how we do our go-to-market and how we think about it. Now, if it comes to the perspective of looking at services and what is the value proposition we want to provide, we take, of course, an end customer perspective because we need to provide services to our partners which are designed to deliver the maximum value to their customers. So, of course, from the product or service portfolio perspective, we need in depth to understand the requirements and the needs and the wishes of the end customers, because elsewise we couldn't prepare our white label wholesale platform in a way to deliver exactly that services. So it's a very interesting view. So from a real customer perspective, we are serving partners, system integrators, service providers, distributors. That is our partners. But the way how we think from a service perspective, of course, we need to think in end customer terminologies because we want to enable our partners that they can serve their customers, end customers, in the best way.
And Eric, if you wouldn't mind me just adding to that, Marcus has summarised it really very well. And one of the things that we said on the presentation was around being able to change the playing field. So when we're looking at working alongside our partners, obviously our partners selling into those end customers, what we're looking to do is to make our partners that much more competitive as well. So that's one of the other reasons why we're bringing this combined offer to market, because we want our partners to be able to go in and not only be competitive in the technology that they're pushing forward, but in also being able to have those higher level, more strategic relationships with customers. And by taking this joint proposition to your customers, if your customer has a true high assurance need, then they're going to have very open ears when you start talking about a data first approach to security, with the knowledge that they're getting best of breed when it comes to infrastructure, but with a lead that allows them to have that ownership and control of their data assurance posture at all times. So bringing the solutions together is a win-win. So again, customers are very much our partners, but maybe the right term is the data owner being your, as a partner, being your end customer.
That's great. While we're on this topic of customers, Paul, what does the typical Certes network customer look like? We talk a lot about this distinction between, I would say, your table stake security that's inherent in many technology solutions. what makes a customer a more prime candidate for the high assurance offering we're talking about?
Great question. Number one has to be regulation. So that in some way they are regulated. Now that may be an external regulatory body. We spoke about verticals such as pharma, as healthcare, as finance, critical national infrastructure. But then again, it may be more government-based, where really it's an internal requirement, but still heavily loaded on understanding how sensitive data, is handled and secured at all times. So our typical customers will have roles along the lines of Chief Data Protection Officer, Chief Data Officer, or Data Protection Officer. They will understand the term information assurance. So information assurance is different to security because it's really understanding how data itself is handled within the environment. And information assurance is not just about how data is transmitted across a network, but even when it's on a piece of paper, if it's sensitive in nature, how that is handled within the environment. So number one, our customers are very much regulated. Again, whether that's internal or external pressures, either one is the same for us. The next thing that makes our customers really move towards Certes is that Marcus has used this term a few times about customers having these digital transformation strategies, and customers very much want to embark and push forward on these digital transformation strategies, but at a pace. They understand that they need to keep those table stakes in place, but be able to move forward, as the market progresses. So, quite often, because of their specific data assurance needs, they're held back in some way. So what they're looking to do is to really have an ability to secure data as an overlay and move forward very rapidly with their infrastructure or digital transformation strategies. So hopefully that sort of helps you understand where our typical customers sit.
Yeah, and Paul, I think you made it very clear, because I call it the network security, the technical network security is completely already embedded into the ngena connectivity as a service platform. And I already mentioned how many different security measures we have implemented and are offering to all the customers. But I think you made the strong point to say, hey, but if there is regulatory additional requirements, which is not covered by the classical or by the advanced network security topics, which are all part of the SASE approach which we have implemented, then exactly these are the customers which are very much suited for that combined offering. And it also, I think, makes very clear how complementary these platforms of the Certes and the ngena are, because they combine these two very strong value propositions of a connectivity platform with highest network security together with the high information and data assurance security pieces, which then provides exactly or covers all the requirements which you would find in the very sensitive industries around public, finance, pharmaceutical, and so on. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think just to you've made another great point, but the next thing for our partners on this call is that what you will also be seeing as a pressure coming from increased regulation is, for example, things like GDPR are now driving the need for owners of sensitive data to have flow down agreements with their services providers to help them contractually understand obligations the owner of the data has or what the provider of services has when it comes to handling sensitive data, which becomes a bit of a minefield, really. So what we're providing is the ability to enable those customers to move forward with that digital transformation that we've been talking about, but whereby the customer the owner of the data at all times is responsible for policy or creating policy that dictates or defines how their data is protected, using keys that only they have access to. So as partners, as services providers, That means that when customers are sending data to us, they are sending it in a form or a fashion that is in keeping with their data assurance posture or their data assurance requirements. So if a data owner sends me data across the network which is unencrypted, then it's meant to be unencrypted. However, if that data is sent protected or encrypted, then again, that's how the customer means to send that data, because it has a specific requirement around how it needs to be protected. So at all times, the key thing is, at all times, the owner of the data is defining how their data is to be handled, and only they have access to the keys that are actually protecting the data.
So, Paul, you mentioned this regulatory environment and an increasing one at that. It brings to mind the question, what are you seeing in terms of kind of the pain points from customers that are coming to you into Certes in terms of how do you keep pace with this kind of dynamic regulatory environment, and what are they seeking in terms of tools and platforms that can help them sort of stay agile as these regulations are changing kind of in real time in a real business impacting way at that?
Yeah, that's a good question. So a couple of things. Our customers our end customers are really seeing when it comes to regulatory compliance. Obviously, as an industry, we're seeing breadth added, so more and more compliance mandates across multiple verticals now, or many verticals, but not just breadth, but also depth as well. We're seeing over the last couple of years, the overhead on an organisation that has to meet a certain level of regulatory compliance is becoming very, very arduous, and really driving the need to outsource some of that because it's very cumbersome on their business. So when we're talking to our customers, what are they really looking for? They're looking for a platform that's future-proofed. So with our ability to define multiple policies, per regulation or per sensitive data requirement, and being able to grow as the needs of the end customer grows, that's a real benefit for our customers. The fact that we are decoupled from the infrastructure, meaning that they can have that agility in the underlying infrastructure, is another. So when it comes to regulatory compliance, it's changing, it's fast, it's aggressive in nature almost, and with our solution being able to future-proof the customer, that's a real benefit for them.
Marcus, I see a lot of commonality there with what we see in the networking landscape as well, right? Our customers are really seeking the flexibility of a platform where they can go in and through ngena's all-in-one portal, make changes to the network architecture in a way that lets them meet dynamic needs. So it seems like there's a lot of crossover there.
Absolutely. That is one piece. It's about the flexibility you're talking about. But I would even also add it's the availability of all that new features and functions. Look, we have such a high speed of innovation currently on the networking side, which the industry haven't seen over the last decade, right? But now with the software-defined approach, you see a more IT-like speed of innovations getting into the network as well, right? And what the ngena approach is about, it is something which we call an evergreening approach. This means we are updating in a continuously manner our platform and adding all that new features and capabilities. This is the beauty of a true cloud platform, that you are not lagging behind. In a legacy world, sometimes you left out 2-3 releases, and then you had this big upgrade projects with all that problems. And many of the features which have been around already for years you couldn't use because you haven't upgraded your legacy platforms, and all that is now gone, right? With a cloud platform like we have implemented, and the continuously upgrading of the releases, without any hassle for the customer and the partners, because we do that on a global scale with our cloud-based platform in that continuous manner. It's not just providing this flexibility, it's also ensuring the future-proof and always innovative offering of services. And I think that's a big advantage, because you're not lagging behind anymore with the features and with the functionalities, and even with the security, right? Because many of the upgrades which has been missed in the past also led to some significant security issues. This is not anymore the case with the way how we are approaching it, and they are providing this flexibility, the innovation, and the future-proof services to the partners so that they can offer it to their clients.
Okay, great. Paul, Marcus, we are at the hour. So I think this is the first of many conversations and sort of information sessions like this to come as we embark on this joint solution together and evolve this over time. To bring this high assurance SD-WAN as a service to the market. Thank you both for your time. For folks to learn more, I would direct them to certesnetwork.com. Is that correct, Paul? Your website?
Certesnetworks.com, yeah.
And then ngena.net on our side, and you can find more information on this. This webinar has been recorded, so we'll be posting it, and we'll send everything out to attendees so you can consume this on demand as well. Any closing thoughts from either Paul or Marcus before we wrap this up?
I just want to thank Paul and you, Eric, for this great discussion. Paul, for the really great partnership and the joint presentation, and all attendees for listening to us, and hopefully we could explain a little bit more and in a better way how we together could provide this SD-WAN as a service with a high data assurance value proposition, and what strong value propositions that is from an end customer perspective, and how we really can help them together with you to really more or less help them transforming and making their business ready for the future.
Eric, I would just echo what Marcus said, and thank you very much to everybody for joining.
Great. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Marcus. Thank you to all our attendees from around the world for tuning in, and we will talk more in the future. Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.